natin. So basically, yung nakikita ni Cassie, basically, we have already discussed some of this. For example, sa Unit 1, ano ba ang pinaka-title niya? Understanding History Using Primary and Secondary Sources. We have already discussed this briefly. Napag-usapan na natin yan ng kaunti, no? Yung meaning and relevance of history, kahulugan, and then of course yung relevance. Ano ba yung relevance? Gaano ba natin kailangan ang kasaysayan sa ating panahon? Relevance of history. It makes it relevant, in our time. Baka naman hindi, di ba? Siyempre, napag-usapan na rin natin yan. Ng kaunti, di ba? And then, yung lesson 2 dyan ay test of authenticity and credibility. So, ito ay test of authenticity and credibility. Gaano ba katotoo yung mga pinag-uusapan natin, yung mga halimbawa ebidensya na pinag-uusapan natin, mga data na pinag-uusapan natin, gaano katotoo yung mga document regarding those historical facts, gaano katotoo, authenticity. And then of course credibility. Yung authenticity, gaano katotoo yung material, And credibility naman, kasi pwedeng totoo yung material, although we still have to ask ourselves, what makes it credible naman? Gaano kalakas yung credibility, kasi hindi naman kung totoo yung material, it follows that the material is credible. Hindi ganun, it doesn't follow. Hindi ganun kadali. Kasi pwedeng yung authentic nga yung material, pero hindi naman totoo yung sinasabi ng tao, di ba? Nung mismong witness. Pwede yun, Kasi pwedeng ako ang witness, pero meron akong tinatago. Di ba? Sa courts, nangyayari din yun, di ba? Na hindi ko sinabi yung totoong pangyayari. Di ba? Sa korte, meron akong mga tinatagong information. So, it doesn't make the material credible, It doesn't necessarily make the material credible. So, hindi nangangahulugan na authentic yung material, credible na siya. Okay? That is why dito, nakalagay, test of authenticity and credibility. Okay? And then, nakikita nyo ba, class, sa monitor ninyo, yung sinishare ko?
Yes po, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Kala ko hindi siya nakashare. Sorry. Okay. So, ayan. Sa page 14 naman, makikita yung lesson 3, Test of authenticity pa rin naman and credibility. Pero, dito, meron ng example. Ano yung example? Tejeros Convention of 1897. Okay? So dito, sa lesson number 3, meron tayong example, binigyan na tayo ng example. Ito yung historical event, sa Tejeros Convention of 1897. So we will go over this, later on, in a little while. We will discuss this. Okay, so let's go. Let's go to page 2. So meron kayong di ba, kopya. So tingnan ninyo, yung let's go to Unit 1, page 2. Unit 1. Okay, there you go. Malinaw ba sa screen ninyo? Unit 1, Understanding History Using Primary and Secondary Sources. Ito ay, we will just, I'm making a brief review of what we have already discussed, no, in our introduction to history. Di ba na nabigyan ko na kayo ng idea about primary and secondary sources. Diba? So dito you will see yung isang page, no, sa isang document. It's written in Spanish, di ba? Reseña histórica. Yan. Of course, we're not going to read everything about this page. Ito lang ay isang example. No? This is just one example that somehow the authors, no, are telling us that this is one primary source. No? So sa figure 1, makikita nyo, Reseña Histórica de la Inauguración de la Iglesia de San Ignacio de Loyola de Manila. And ano ba natin babasahan sa 1890, no? Reseña 1890. So ito isang document na the authors, no, they regard this document as primary. It's the inauguration of Iglesia de San Ignacio de Loyola de Manila, no? Ito yung Colegio de San Ignacio, yung parish, no, sa Colegio de San Ignacio. Okay. So, ayan. Yan may kita nyo sa yung Iglesia de San Ignacio, no, yung parish church na yan, makikita nyo sa sa Intramuros sa ngayon, no? Sa ruins, no? Sa Intramuros. Merong isang structure doon na before, no? Doon nakatayo yung San Ignacio de Loyola. Okay. So, ito yung document na binabanggit, no? Yung inauguration. So, this is the authors, no, consider this a primary source, no? Indicating that the parish, no, by the name of San Ignacio de Loyola in Manila was inaugurated. Okay? Ano ba yung inaugurasyon? Diba? Okay. Then, ano ba yung page 2? Page 2. So, page 2, ito yung makikita natin. So, balikan lang natin ang konting meaning and relevance of history. So, dito sa introduction ng mga author, sabi rito, boring na subject daw ang history. History is a boring subject. Students find it dull due to certain reasons as previous techniques in teaching which tended to focus on memorizing the dates. Ito yung binanggit natin before, no? Kala natin na memorization, no, yung history. Hindi naman, no? Kasi nga pinaliwanag ko na sa inyo na we'll try to analyze historical facts, no? We'll also not be limited by discussing the past, no, but also what's going on, and we will also try to answer the present problems, no, in our society. Trying to give solutions, then we will actually try to come up with better plans, no, ahead of us, no, in the future, no. Yun, dates of historical events, names, historical figures, places, events took place. Sabi dyan, as such, it is the name of the sense, shed line, the meaning and relevance of history. So, ito yung binabanggit dito. Without dismissing the necessity of knowing the answers to the basic questions of what, where, when, and how. Studying history should be more concerned. Answering questions like why a certain event happened and how did it happen. So why and how is important for us, no? In our study of history. Why and how is very important. Tapos meron tanong dito, is it just a mere caprice of the academy for him to brag his technical expertise? Hindi ko alam bakit tinatawag nito, no? na capriccio. And the study of history be useful in understanding the different factors that led to the development of the present society. Yes, no, very much, no, as we have discussed, di ba? Yung importance of history, di ba? Especially in our discussion of the three kinds of history. Nalaman natin yung kahalagaan ng kasaysayan at yung gamit ng kasaysayan. It is how we are supposed to use history, di ba? Monumental, antiquarian, critical history, di ba? In finding out the meanings of these three kinds of history, we are also able to discuss, no, yung how its use of history important, no, in our day-to-day existence, di ba? Hindi lang sa nakalipas o nakaraan at hinarap, kundi pang araw-araw, no? Nakikita natin yung mga gamit na iyon, no, ng kasaysayan. So we need to really apply, no, monumental history, antiquarian history, and critical history on how we deal with the present. Okay? Yun, no? Yun, sabi, can the study of history be useful in understanding the different factors that led to the development of the present society? So yun, no? Pinag-aaralan natin. Pero yung unang tanong, is it just a mere caprice of the academician for him to brag his technical expertise? Hindi dapat, no? Kung meron mang technical expertise yung isang academician regarding this, dapat lang, no, na meron. Pero hindi dapat ipagyabang. Okay? Kahit sino, hindi dapat magyabang, no? Kahit na ba yung pinakamagaling na historian, hindi dapat yan pinagyayabang. Yan ay dapat pinaiintindi o pinaunawa, no? Yung kanyang kaalaman sa kasaysayan. Hindi mere caprice. Ibig sabihin, pwede niya ipagyabang. Hindi naman, no? Hindi naman capriccio ang pagkakaroon ng kaalaman sa kasaysayan. So, perhaps pwedeng tingnan ng mga author itong statement na ito ulit, no? Hindi ko may kaalaman tayo sa isang bagay, pwede na tayong magyabang. Okay. Second paragraph, sabi dyan, notwithstanding the necessity of writing history, the knowledge of identifying sources and where to locate them are two of the basic lessons which a student of history should learn. No? Writing history, actually, ano naman to no? Kung talagang sa amin, mga academician, pwede naman kami magsulat ng kasaysayan. Kayo, kung talagang gusto nyo rin, pwede naman, no? Kahit na wala naman kayong training, kung talagang interested kayo sa history, no? Pwede naman kayo magsulat ng mga bagay-bagay na mayroong kinalaman sa kasaysayan. But the authors would like us to know, no, that we need to be armed, no, with the basic knowledge, no, so that we would be guided in writing history. Okay? Normally, ang nagsusulat ng kasaysayan, yung mga history writers, no, mga academicians, no, historians, scholars, normally sila. So, alam nila kung paano nila i-identify yung source nila, yung pinanggagalingan ng kanilang mga datos, kung saan hahanapin yung mga datos na yun, yung mga basic lessons, no? Na kailangan alamin naman ng student of history. Yan. Sources, sabi nga dito, are the primary foundation of history. Yung mga dato, no? Yung mga data na kailangang malaman. Normally, yun yung primary foundation of history. So how you deal with these sources, foundation yun ng history. Without the sources, the so-called historical narratives, sa second paragraph tayo class, no? Without the sources, the so-called historical narratives can be easily dismissed as historical fiction. So, dito, ang sinasabi lang, kung walang ebidensya, it will be very hard for us to make a claim, no? That what we present is a historical narrative. Kung wala ebidensya, kailangan merong ebidensya o yung mga datos. This lesson aims to give the students a preliminary background. So, ito ay preliminary background lang sa various sources that could be employed in studying readings in Philippine history. no, mga babasahin, no, sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, including certain information on the repositories of these sources, physical or digital, so that the students would know where to access them. Okay, yes, naman yun. Saan natin makukuha? Now, learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, ito yung expectation natin, no? Kapag natapos na natin itong chapter 1, ano ba yung expectation? The students should be able to, number 1, identify credible and authentic primary sources and know how to evaluate their provenance. Dapat alam natin, no, kung gaano ano ba yung credible sa katotoo, no? Authentic, gaano ka totoo yung mga datos na nakuha natin, yung mga data na nakuha natin, primary sources. Gaano katotoo na ito ay primaryang batis, no? O sekundaryang batis, no? Paano ba natin i-evaluate, no? How are we to analyze, no, or assess everything about it, no? Yung sinasabi nito, yung provenance. And then number 2, determine the various repositories of historical sources where. Dapat daw malaman natin kung saan makikita, no, yung mga primaryang batis na ito, no? Ang mga secondary sources na ito. So dapat daw ito yung ini-expect, no? Alam na natin yung how credible and authentic the sources are and where to look, where to find these sources, no? Where to look, no, for these sources. Yan. So parang ano to, no, review natin ng mga ilang nabanggit na natin sa introduction test. Tapos sa lower portion ng inyong screen, sabi nito, what is history? History originated as a derivation of Historia, ancient Greek. Alam niyo mga Greeks kasi, yung mga Greeks, sila yung nag-start ng study of history. Si Herodotus, di ba? Kinikilala siyang father of history. And then later on, Thucydides, no? Thucydides, no? Or Thucydides, no? Siya naman yung, yung it's not just about what happened, but why and how history happened, di ba? So, mas malalim, no, yung pag-aaral nito si Thucydides, no, kaysa kay Herodotus. It is usually defined as a study of past events. Dito pinabanggit sa dictionary kung ano ba yung kahulugan ng history. Then, at the end of this paragraph, sabi dito, history is not only a mere collection of narratives compiled or collated by authors. History employs a system to organize narratives. No? So, merong sistema, no? Yung paggamit, no? Pagpapresent, no, ng mga naratibo, no, o mga istorya na mayroong ebidensya or mga historical narratives. As what the Greek philosopher Aristotle once said, history is a systematic account of a set of natural phenomena. So, sistematiko, may pag-aaral, mayroong procedure na kung saan pinag-aaralan yung mga nangyari sa kasaysayan, phenomena. Historical phenomena. It's also an investigative work because we try to find out, no, what really happened. Because people aim to satisfy their thirst for truth. So, ang end goal pa rin ng kasaysayan ay finding the truth. No? Ano ba yung talagang totoo? History attempts to know the actions of human beings that were accomplished in the past. No? In the Philippine setting, meron dito sinasabi, classic definition of history, ay meron dito sinabi, was given to us by Salazar. Sabi dito, to him, kasaysayan, the counterpart of history in the modern tongue is an essential narrative to a group of people that is characterized by uniqueness and identity. So the uniqueness, as opined by Salazar, as described, no, by Salazar, opined yung nandito. Anyway, is largely based on their own language and heritage. So, katulad nung nabanggit ko, ang kasaysayan ay salaysay na may saysay para sa isang grupo ng tao na may kakanyahan, identidad na nakasandig sa sariling wika at kalinanan. Ito yung sinasabi ni Sebastian Rosales 2008, no? Based dun sa meaning, no, na ibinigay ni Jesus sa Salazar. Okay? Through this definition, Salazar reiterates that the essence of history depends on whose history is being narrated and who the intended audiences are. Okay. Nabanggit ko na sa inyo last time, no, sa introduction to history. Yung kasaysayan ng isang kasaysayan ay salaysay na may saysay, no, na base sa sariling wika at kalinangan ng isang grupo ng mga tao. Yan. So si Jesus Salazar ang nagbigay na. Nating professor ng UP. Okay. Next is, it is important to note that history is not the past, but rather a glimpse of the past. Paano ba natin to? It is important to note that history is not the past, no? But rather a glimpse of the past. Siguro gusto sabihin ng mga author dito, yung kasaysayan na alam nating nangyari ay glimpse lang, no? Ano ba yung glimpse lang? Bahagi lang, no? Sulyap lang, no, ng nakaraan. Yung alam nating kasaysayan, no, ay hindi lang yung nakaraan, but definitely magiging bahagi ng sulyap natin sa nakaraan. Pinapalalim ng mga author, no, yung history. The entirety of the past cannot be narrated and included in all of the written histories for the main reason that not everything which happened in the past were recorded. Okay. Commented. So, sinasabi sa atin dito na hindi lahat naka-record, ha? Hindi lahat naka-record. Kasi nga, meron din namang mga nangyari na hindi na itala, di ba? So, what will happen to those data? Therefore, history does not create narration of past events. Rather, a recreation of past events based on available materials. Recreation. Recreation. Pag sinabi natin recreation, para tayong namamasyal. Pasalunit. So, history does not create narration of past events. So parang ibig sabihin dito ay hindi natin hindi tayo nagmamanufacture lang ng mga nangyari sa nakaraan, kundi yung kasaysayan na merong historical evidence, no, yun yung binabahagi natin, and then itong mga historical facts na ito ay we reconstruct, no, past events based on available materials. So siguro reconstruct rather than recreate, no? Recreation or reconstruction of past events. No? Recreation para recreation para tayong namamasyal. Bagay kung pinag-aaral natin ng kasaysayan, pwede naman 'yun. Parang we are studying history in a casual way, recreation yun, di ba? Pero siguro mas reconstructing past events. Kaya ang kasaysayan reconstructivism, no, ay nasa ilalim ng pag-aaral na yun, reconstructivism. Or constructivism, no? Rather, constructivism, because we reconstruct past events, no, based on the available materials, diba? Constructivism siya, yung kasaysayan. Okay, so yun yung pwede pa natin madagdag. And then, teka muna, sandali lang. And then, dito binabanggit din yung relevance of history. Dito based from Collingwood, tells that history is valuable because it teaches people what they have done and that's what matters. Through history, the present generation could assess the pits and defeats. Ano yun? The pits and defeats, no? Parang ano to, no? Naglalaro. Parang yung paggamit ng fits and defeats ay parang naglalaro, no? Yung parang nilalaro dito yung ano ba yung mga na-achieve, no? At saka yung mga defeats, setback, no? Pero siguro, ito yung, hindi ko alam, no? Kung bakit ito ang ginamit ng mga author. Bagay, ito namang instructional material na ito ay, ano pa rin to, subject to, ano to, revision. Kasi dito parang gustong maglaro ng mga author sa mga words na fits and defeats, no? Pero pwede naman natin gamitin yung could assess the achievements, no, and setbacks of the previous generations, and can learn not only from their errors but also from their victories. The following relevance of this Peter Stearns. Baka si Stearns ang gumamit, no, hindi yung mga author. Kasi hindi ko alam, hindi ko naman nabasa pa yung later on, pupuntahan ko si Peter Stearns kung ito talaga yung pagkakagamit niya. Otherwise, so ito yung ano class, no? Kapag meron tayong mga libro na ginagamit, hindi natin alam, no, kung how exactly, halimbawa, Peter Stearns chose the words, no? Had chosen his words, no? In describing hits and defeats, no? Or errors and victories. Hindi ko alam kasi maraming paraan para i-cite, no, yung mga author. Pwedeng hindi exactly as how the authors said those words, no? Pwedeng ganito lang naman, sinasite Peter Stearns 1998, Collingwood 1976. No, ito ay no, parang isinama yung yung dito sinasama si Collingwood 1976, Peter Stearns 1998 dun sa mismong dun sa kasama sila dun sa how the statements, no, were constructed. So narrative, no, yung pagkakasama sa kanila. Kasi pwede rin yung quote unquote, di ba? Yun, no, doon makikita na kung exactly how the paragraph, no, was described in words, no, by Collingwood or Peter Stearns. Baka naman sila yung nagsabi niya, hindi yung mga author. Okay? The present generation could assess the fits and defeats of the patient. Kaya lang merong tuldok from their victories. And then after that, tsaka lang sinabi na the following relevance of history were enumerated by Peter Stearns. So medyo magulo ito. Titingnan ko later. Ay, wala pala akong video. Okay, so next. Page 3 pa lang tayo, ano to, di ba? Ilang pages ba itong Marami, no? Yan yung sinasabi ko, no? Medyo matagal, no, pag discuss natin. So dito, makikita ninyo yung sa ilalim ng relevance of history, merong bullets dyan. Makikita nyo dyan, history contributes to moral understanding. Next is history helps us understand people and societies. Ito kasi yung relevance, parang ito yung importance of history, di ba? Kung binigyan ko kayo ng kopya ng aking material na ginawa, makikita niyo doon, no, yung importance ng history. Na halos pareho rin ito. History contributes to moral understanding. History helps us understand people and societies. History provides identity. History is essential for good citizenship. Yan. So, makikita nyo rin yan doon sa 5 things, no, that makes history important. Doon sa ibinigay ko sa inyo sa lecture number 1. Now, repositories of historical sources. Dito makikita, no, yung mga dato, mga data, bodies, pagdating sa mga pagkukunan natin ng mga source, no? Philippine depositories. Ano ba yung mga Philippine depositories natin? Ayan, yung, for example, National Library, Filipiniana, dun sa Filipiniana Division, meron silang microfilm section. So, ito yung mga na-preserve nila na mga primary source, no? Primaryang batis. Nasa Filipiniana Division o kaya microfilm section. So, meron kayo may kita ron, primary source, no? Dito, binabanggit din yung mga important document, katulad ng historical data papers, Philippine Revolutionary Records, yun, makikita nyo yun sa National Library of the Philippines. Pagkatapos, dito may binabanggit, archives ng University of Santo Tomas, na maraming Spanish era collection, no? Especially with regards to education-related records during the Spanish period. So, kung education-related, yung inyong hinahanap na data, makakatulong ng malaki yung archives ng University of Santo Tomas. Pwede ma-access yun, no? Kaya lang doon sa talagang mga delicate records, kailangan talagang mga ito yung mga kukuha talaga kayo ng mga permit, no? At saka yung mga kilalang tao na sa history, no? Ang kanilang ina-allow, no, na makapasok or maka-access din sa mga record. National Archives of the Philippines, no? Ito ay contains rich Spanish era collection. Ecclesiastical related topics naman. Archdiocese and Archives of Manila naman yan. So yan ay makikita naman sa Intramuros, sa Arsobispado, no? Sa Intramuros yan. No, maraming tungkol sa church affairs, no, makikita doon. Dito, no, binabanggit din yung retraction letter of Rizal was found. Dito, sinasabi ang description sa retraction ay infamous. I don't know who described this letter as infamous, no? Ito ay kapag ginagamitan ng ganito class na word, no, ang history. Ito ay galing na sa sa maybe from the authors of this instruction, meron siyang description na infamous, no? I don't know, no, if this is fair enough not to use. So, kasi we are discussing yung retraction letter, so I don't know if siguro pwede naman kung talagang yung kalayaan ng author, no, ay papakita dito, para sa kanya infamous yung letter, pwede naman dahil yan nga, nakita nyo, nabasa natin, no, infamous yung letter. Pero as far as I'm concerned, I think it should have just been left as retraction letter, no? Without any description at all. So, para sa akin, retraction letter lang ito ni Rizal. Okay? It's up to me, no? Kung gusto kong i-describe siya infamous, pero since we are dealing with a para sa akin, no? I think it should have been just left with retraction letter without any description at all. Okay? Although, sabi ko nga, malaya naman siyang gamitin yan, pero sa akin, no, hindi dapat retraction letter lang. Okay? Sal was found. Bakit? Para sa akin? We're just describing a piece of primary source. Okay? And when we describe it, we just describe it as it is. Retraction letter. Okay? Yung infamous, dagdag na lang po yan. Okay? Okay. Next. Alam niyo ba kung bakit dinescribe na infamous letter? Kasi siguro para doon sa mga author, nag-create siya ng nag-create siya ng controversy. Okay? Nag-create siya ng controversy, yung retraction letter, whether the letter is authentic or not. Kaya siguro tinawag na infamous. Okay? Para sa akin naman, it's simple as retraction letter. Okay? Later on, kapag nag-discuss tayo, siguro, doon ko lang pwedeng i-describe kung infamous ba o hindi. Next, sabi yan, moreover, the Manila Observatory Archives contains pertinent data regarding various weather disturbances and conditions. Manila Observatory. This is due to the fact that the observatory is okay. Itong Manila Observatory ay ito yung dating weather forecasting station, no, sa Pilipinas, sa Maynila, no. Sa may sa may Maynila, doon sa may malapit sa Department of Justice, yung area na yun. Before nandun, no? Ngayon yan yung pag-asa natin, class pag-asa. So, sabi niya, this is due to the fact that the observatory serves as a weather forecasting bureau during the Spanish period, no? Spanish colonial government. Okay. Other institutions of higher learning boast their rich collections of both primary and secondary sources. University of the Philippines, Main Library, the Duman Quezon City, Ateneo de Manila, Rizal Library, Historical Collection, the United States Embassy, in Leona Heights, as yung Ateneo de Manila, no? Quezon City, and the Rizal University in Ermita, Manila. Now, meron din namang class no, yung mga local libraries, no? Sometimes meron silang sometimes meron silang mga mga primary source, no? Or magagandang secondary source na makikita kayo. Mga local libraries. Dito sinasabi, students who wish to conduct researches on ethnic groups can visit the SIL Philippines in Horseshoe Drive, Quezon City. Horseshoe Drive, Quezon City. Tingnan nyo kung saan yun. Ang archives na yun ay meron 2,000 titles relating to the languages of the Philippines. So, may kinalaman naman sa lingwahan. Archives naman sa Congregation of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, CICM. Quezon City pa rin yan. Collections, documents written by CICM missionaries. Ayan, makikita nyo. Other depositories or centers established by local historical networks. Centers provide helpful sources about the history of their towns, provinces. Yung sinasabi ko, mga local history. Local government units pala. Makikita kayo ng local history. Tapos meron din mga Spanish depositories. Yan, makikita kayo, sorry. Spanish depositories. Yan yung mga ka-enumerate na rito. Pero ito ay sa ibang bansa, ha? O, pupunta kayo sa ibang bansa. Yan. Normally, yan, no? Hindi sila basta-basta nakakapasok dyan. Mas maganda kung talagang you are conducting a study. And then you will tell everything about your study. So it will be easier for you to access, no? These Spanish depositories, no? When you go to Spain. Yan. So, Mexican depository. No? Pwede yan kasi we have a long a relationship, no? With Mexicans, no? Kasi alam niyo class, in the first 100 years ang Pilipinas, no, nasa ilalim, no, ng pamamahala ng Mexico, no? Kasi karamihan ng mga governor generals, no, ay nagagaling sa Mexico. Just like, Miguel Lopez Legazpi, galing siya sa Mexico. So, first 100 years, we were, the Philippines, no, was governed by Spain through Mexico, no, sa pamamagitan ng Mexico. Then, meron tayong, di ba, yung Manila-Acapulco trade, no? Manila-Acapulco trade, no? Acapulco, Mexico. Yung trade between the Philippines and Mexico. Yung galleon trade, sa Mexico yun at Pilipinas. Okay, so Mexican, British, depository. Kasi ang British, no, meron ding history sa atin yan, no? Kasi kung makikita nyo dyan, no, 1760 to 1764, Manila fell, no, under the British rule, no, 1762, 1764 yon. So merong records, no, ang British, no, regarding the Philippines or Manila. So yeah. Then American depositories, syempre, no, from Spain, no, American took control of the Philippine archipelago. So meron silang mga record, no? Especially narat na nila yung mga Kastila rito. They took possession of the records na ilipat sa kanila. So, meron silang mga record na nadala sa kanilang bansa, sa United States. So, pwede rin makita ron. Then, online archives, marami na rin kasi na-share na rin sa online, no, sa internet. Then, let's go to classification and types of historical sources. Yung nga, no, sinabi sa atin, no, meron tayong sources defined as artifacts that have been left by the past, exist, no? Relics, or what we can call as remains. No, yung, di ba, meron tayong tradition and remains, di ba? So, yun ay nakapaloob sa relics and remains. Okay, yung mga relic na yun, yung mga remains na yun, under sa, makikita natin sa ruins, no? Di ba? Ruins. Yung mga yun, no? Ruins. Okay. First tradition. Number 3 is testimonies of witnesses of the past. Mga testimony din, no? Ito ay bahagi ng tradition. No? Kasi yung testimonies na yun ay merong intensyon, no? Na ibahagi yung kalaman yun. Based on this definition, the students can infer that historical sources are not only but also to artifacts and ecopacks. Ecopacks. Artifacts, yung mga ginawa ng tao, artifacts, no? Na mga later on na discover. And then ecopacks naman, siyempre eco, yung environment, no? Regarding environment, no? Yan. Basic definition from Collins, something made, given shape by humans, such as tool or work of art, no? Yan ay under pa rin sa tradition, no? Kasi yung tool na yon ay ginawa para ipasa yung kalaman paggamit ng tool na yon, o yung work of art na yon ay merong intention na magbahagi ng kalaman. So, tradition siya. Okay. Okay. Basically, it is an object remaining from a particular period. Examples are tools and ornaments. It is easy to say that artifact does not only refer to antiquated objects, which are usually technological finds, but to any of which were modified by humans for their own purpose or consumption. Also, an artifact is witness of the period of its existence. On the other hand, ecopact holding perhaps pertains to an excavated piece of evidence consisting natural remains. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng ecopact, no? Nakalagay dyan. Artifacts at ecopact, how these two things are defined, no? Artifacts. Antiquated objects. Geological finds, no? Pero modified by humans for their own purpose or consumption. Artifact yun. Ecopact naman ay mute witness of the period of its existence. Ecopact ang tawag. The environment, mute witness. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Main types of written sources, primary source, secondary. Ito na class, yung pinag-usapan natin last time. Primary source is the testimony of an eyewitness or witness by any other source, by any other of the senses, or of a mechanical device like the dictaphone that is of one who, or that which was present at the events of which he or it tells. So yung event, no, doon sa pangyayari na yon, or yung tao, no, as a witness. So yun yung primary source. Secondary source naman, testimony of anyone who is not an eyewitness. That is one who is not present. So ito naman yung nagpasa nung impormasyon na yun, di ba? At wala siya doon sa pangyayari. So pinag-usapan na natin yun last time. Okay? Yun yung pagkakaiba nila. Okay. Next, unwritten sources. To the following: archaeological, oral, material. Unwritten sources, no? So ito yung mga yung oral, ito yung word of mouth, walang ebidensya. Material evidence, ito yung mga archaeological finds nga, or evidence. Pareho rin yan. Material evidence, archaeological. So yung isa ay dinefine lang as archaeological. Yung isa material na hindi naman kasama dun sa archaeological findings. Types of written sources. Types of unwritten sources. Yun, archaeological. Ito yung mga definition. Remains, no? Yung archaeological. Artifacts, ecofacts, na pinag-aaralan din naman, no? Pero hindi nakasulat. Oral evidence, yung mga, di ba, yung mga legend na pinag-usapan, may mga kantang sinaulo lang sa ulado pero hindi nakasulat. May mga ritual na nasa isipan lang, nasa memory lang nila, hindi ito isinulat. Oral evidence. Material evidence, photographs, artworks, videos, and sound recordings. So this is how material evidence is differentiated from archaeological evidence. Yung archaeological, more remains, artifacts, ecofact. Yung material evidence, ito yung mga photographs daw, artworks, videos, and sound recording. Artworks, yan din naman mga artwork, yung mga sinaunang tao na yun yung artifacts, no? Yan. Activity. So dito gagawa na kayo ng activity. No? Ano daw yung activity? Propose a title for a possible research and come up with at least 3 statements of the problem or arguments. So dito, not necessarily research na full-blown research. Kundi, meron ka gustong alamin, you have to come up with at least 3 statements, no, of the problem or arguments, no. So kung meron kayong gustong alamin, dapat daw may statement of the problem kayo, kaya mga argument. So mag-prepare daw kayo ng outline which will determine the flow of your research. So paano nyo i-outline, no, yung research nyo, no? Paano ang outline diyan? Using digital archives, prepare a bibliography of the sources which you can use in your research. So using digital archives. So ibig sabihin dito, pinapupunta kayo sa internet, no? Na merong mga website na digital archives. And then do sa digital archives na yon, maghanda kayo ng bibliography ng mga source na pwede nyo gamitin doon sa inyong research. Classify your sources according to type. So, paano ba yun? Dito, yung archaeological ba siya, oral ba siya, material ba siya, and then, siya ba ay primary or secondary. Ganun ang gagawin. Okay? Ayan yung activity, ha? Dito. Ayan yung activity. Okay. Lesson 1 pa lang yung class. No? Lesson 1 pa lang. So, ayan. Sa lesson 1 pa lang, isang activity gagawin mo. Propose a title for a possible research. Sorry class pero dito kasi sa chapter 1, sa lesson 1. Sa lesson 1, pinapakita sa atin yung meaning ng history, relevance ng history, and then ano yung primary source at secondary source. And then binibigyan tayo ng idea kung ano yung mga credible sources. Kasi binigyan tayo ng mga depositories kung saan pwedeng kunin yon. And then, problem here is how to conduct a research. So, kung mapapasin natin, wala rito sa lesson 1, meaning and relevance of history, yung how to conduct a research. Okay? So, ang sinabi sa atin dito, meaning and relevance of history, as to the activity is telling us to actually prepare a research, di ba? So dito, binabanggit lang naman sa atin, meaning relevance, tapos ang learning outcome niya ay hindi kasama yung research, di ba? So class, baka mamaya sabihin niyo, si sir naman, ano nila ito instructional material. Yes, pero ito ay pa rin, no? Subject pa rin sa revision kasi nga this is the first time na ginagamit natin yung platform na katulad nito, class, no? So you have to really understand us, kung bakit ko binabanggit sa inyo yung ganun, kasi nga baka mamaya kayo pa magtanong sa akin, ako na nagsasabi sa inyo, no? Sir, paano ba gumawa ng research? Diba? Pero yung simpleng research class ay meron tayong gustong alamin, di ba? Pero meron ding meron ding outline na kung paano gawin yung research, di ba? Meron ding step-by-step procedure, no? Kung paano ba mag-conduct ng research. Okay? Pero ang sinasabi lang siguro dito sa chapter 1 ay baka meron kang tanong, no, o problema na gusto mong alamin, no, pwede mong gamitin ngayon itong chapter 1. So ngayon, pinapaliwanag ko sa inyo, class, although wala siyang outline kung paano gumawa ng research, ang binabanggit ko ngayon sa inyo, class, ay baka merong tanong o problema na gusto mong pag-aralan, pwedeng gamitin ngayon itong lesson 1. Maliwanag ba, class? Class, are you listening? Maliwanag ba?
Yes po.
Yes, yes po, sir.
Sir, hindi naman tinuro dyan kung paano kami mag-conduct ng research Yes, pero later on, we will still make revision, no, of this instructional material para mas malinaw, no, na baka naman meron lang kayong tanong, kung gustong malaman, you can pose questions, di ba? Now, when you are posing questions, di ba, or asking questions, we can consider that research. Kasi nagtatanong tayo. O yan, class, maliwanag sinabi ko, although wala dyan yung eksaktong how to conduct a research. So dito, binabanggit lang dito, baka to the effect na may tanong kayo, may problema kayong gustong pag-aralan, you can use this lesson 1. Malinaw ba, class? Malinaw ba? Malinaw ba yun? Baka magtanong kayo later on. Is that clear?
Yes po, sir.
Yes po.
Thank you. Okay, so we will continue next meeting sa lessons 2 and 3 naman. We will discuss that. Lessons 2 and 3. So wag mo na kayong gumawa na activity. No? This is the reason why it's important for us to discuss first. No, before activities lang ginawa nyo, di ba? Activity 1 and 2, yun ay outside this, topics na, no? Yung 5 chapters or 5 units, no? Sa ating lesson proper. Okay, so there you go. So, pakibuksan lang po ang